I went to Trafalgar Square a lot just because it was my favorite place in London. Sometimes I would just get on the tube and ride to a random place and get out and walk around.
The greatest tourist experience was cliff diving or cliff jumping, feet first, at Rick's Cafe.
On the weekends, I would jet off and leave the city and go do something fun. I went to the lake, which is Lago Atitlan, and it's got 3 volcanoes surrounding it, and it's a gorgeous lake. I went to Honduras. I ended up going to both coasts, so I got to visit the Atlantic and the Pacific coast. I went to the mountains, I went to the rainforest, I went to the desert, I went everywhere.
We went out on the ocean with some of the fishermen and got to go to this private beach, which was awesome, where they cut down some coconuts and we drank some coconut milk out of the fresh coconuts. One of my favorite parts is we hiked through the rainforest, came up upon a waterfall and swam up to the waterfall and jumped into the lagoon there.
The reggae was just incredible to see. Straight out of a movie, best dancers you've seen. From little kids to older, they're just so enveloped into the culture, the reggae culture and the Rastafarians and everything. It's cool to see that firsthand. I tried to participate. I couldn't quite move the shoulders as fluid as they could, but I tried.
We learned how to mend fishing nets. We learned how to do cultural wraps. We worked with a nonprofit building a community park in the village there.
Interacted with the students, taught a couple of classes. I'm a physiology major, and I described how potassium would lower your threshold for action potentials, and I related that to cricket, or football as they call it. And as soon as I said cricket or football, and that if you eat bananas, which are high in potassium, that'll increase your hand-eye coordination, they just zoned in. They were just so focused because it was so relevant to their little lives. Teaching was the best part.
So I went and I spent 5 months with Jain nuns. I lived the way they lived. I dressed the way they dressed. I even tried to do some of their own spiritual practices, throughout the day, throughout my entire 5 months there.
I took a bird watching class, and I never saw myself as a bird watcher, so I never knew that was a fun hobby. But I took a vacation by myself one weekend. I went up to a quetzal reserve, and the quetzal is the Guatemalan state bird. They're very rare. I got up at 4 in the morning at this reserve and hiked out to the middle of nowhere to go find these quetzals. And I saw 6, which is more than some people see in their whole lifetime. When I saw it, I had tears in my eyes. I was crying. It was so beautiful.
I spent the weekend in Scotland, right, with a group of my friends, and we wound up in this little town called Fort Augustus, which is right by Loch Ness. That whole day was just awesome because we had all these epic, magical water experiences, right? So there's water everywhere in Scotland, right? So we went to this little river that's supposed to be magical, and to the spring that grants the bushes, and we climbed this cliff down to this waterfall. So it was just tons of fun.
During the weekends, probably at least twice a month, we got to go somewhere new and go somewhere cool and experience another part of Australian life. We went snorkeling on the Great Barrier Reef. We were in a frisbee league. We went skydiving. You're free falling, from 14,000 feet, and you see the Great Barrier Reef on one side, and then you see the tropic rainforest on the other, and then you're gonna land on a beach. It was one of the most beautiful days we had, and it was probably the best experience of Australia and maybe of my life.